When you think of a show that had everything, from comedy to drama to romance, and on top of it all, huge star power, do you think of the ABC show Moonlighting? Of course, when we think of Moonlighting, we immediately think of the two stars of the show, Sybil Shepherd and Bruce Willis. Their love-hate relationship on screen, accompanied by an off-screen tension, kept viewers tuning in each week to see if the characters would finally get together. Moonlighting was created by Glenn Gordon Caron and ran from March 1985 to May 1989. In the first episode, which aired as a 2-hour pilot episode, we learn that former model Maddie Hayes, played by Sybil Shepherd, finds herself bankrupt after her accountant embezzles all of her liquid assets. She is left saddled with several failing businesses formerly maintained as tax write-offs, one of which is the City of Angels Detective Agency, helmed by the carefree David Addison, played by Bruce Willis. Between the pilot and the first 1-hour episode, David persuades Maddie to keep the business and run it as a partnership. The agency is renamed Blue Moon Investigations because Maddie was famous for being the spokesmodel for the Blue Moon Shampoo Company. The series itself was a mix of mystery, sharp dialogue, and sexual tension between its two leads. It introduced the world to Bruce Willis and brought Sybil Shepherd back into the spotlight after nearly a decade-long absence. The show also stars Elise Beasley as a quirky receptionist, and later Curtis Armstrong, a temp who helps to lighten the caseload. Considered to be one of the first successful dramedy shows, Moonlighting helped to usher in this new distinct genre. The network ABC was in quite a rut, and after 2 pilots didn't make it to series, the network president told Glenn Gordon Caron to make a detective show. Caron remembers that his eyes rolled to the top of his head, and he said, "That's what America needs, another detective show." When he met with the network again, Caron insisted on adding a romantic spin to the detective format. Caron said that the William Shakespeare play Taming of the Shrew was a big influence and provided emotional inspiration for Moonlighting. He had seen his wife perform in a production of it in college 8 times. The play is a romantic comedy of sorts that deals with taming an unruly, sharp-tongued bride into obedience. Caron stated, "Moonlighting was sort of a rip-off of Taming of the Shrew, and always was." The play was specifically parodied in the 3rd season episode, Atomic Shakespeare. As Caron wrote the first script, he realized he was writing the part of Maddie for Sybil Shepherd. He said, "I had to have somebody the public was fundamentally rooting against, because the show was about the thawing of this beautiful ice queen, and I knew the public saw her as spoiled and bratty." It wasn't by accident that Sybil Shepherd dressed like a leading lady from the 1940s in Moonlighting. The effect was created by the costume department, recreating fashions from the period and then filming using a diffusion filter to get the look of the 40s detective drama. Thousands of other actors were considered for the part of David Addison. Bruce Willis was the last to audition, and up until this point had had one lone TV credit in an episode of Miami Vice, and arrived with a punk hairdo and earrings. Shepherd remembered that Willis was wearing army fatigues, and unlike the other men who auditioned with her that day, he didn't go out of his way to flatter her. He avoided eye contact with her and mostly talked with Caron. After he left the room, Shepherd says she told Caron that Willis was the one they needed to play David. The show's writing was completely original for the time. It often had the actors breaking the fourth wall, with many episodes including dialogue that made direct references to the scriptwriters, the audience, the network, or the series itself. At one point at the end of season 2, the actors actually left the set and began running around the studio, a mind-blowing thing to happen in a TV show in 1986. The show also used cold openings which featured Shepherd and Willis in character addressing the audience about the show's production. These cold opens were originally born out of desperation as a way to fill airtime, since the dialogue on the show was spoken so quickly and the producers needed something to fill the entire hour. In some episodes, the production crew and sets become part of the plot. One famous cold open was delivered by Orson Welles during season 2. The episode, titled "The Dream Sequence Always Rings Twice," has proved to be one of the best of the series, and it happened to be Orson Welles' last appearance before his death. 1 week after shooting the scene, Welles passed away. In 1997, the episode was ranked as number 34 on TV Guide's 100 Greatest Episodes of All Time. At the time the show was in production, the average time to film an hour-long show was about 5 to 7 days. Moonlighting, however, took 12 to 14 days per episode. The length of the scripts and the scenes that were being written on the fly were the reason for this. The estimated cost per installment of the show was about $1.6 million, which made it the most expensive primetime series on television. Moonlighting had been successful up until this point, and Bruce Willis's celebrity was rising. He had endorsement deals with Seagram's, and his celebrity status was about to skyrocket with the release of Die Hard. During the third season of Moonlighting, Bruce Willis was selected from a long list of 1980s action stars to play John McClane. He was not the producer's first choice for the role, and he initially turned it down, but when Shepard became pregnant, production of the show was halted for 11 weeks, which gave Willis the time to shoot the movie. When the film was released, it was wildly popular and grossed nearly $140 million worldwide. Bruce Willis was instantly an action star, and this changed the on-set dynamic of Moonlighting. Moonlighting was notorious for the discord on the set. The two stars were in every frame, and the shoots were long with lengthy scripts. The tension between Shepard and Willis was also intensified by the growing popularity and sway that Willis had as a new movie star. Arguments between the stars would be a common occurrence, with much of the blame placed on Shepard. The delays were so substantial during the third season that filler shows were made that used Elise Beasley and Curtis Armstrong working on side investigations together that had little to do with the main storylines. These shows led to a drop in ratings during the second half of the show because viewers would realize that Shepard and Willis were not going to appear in the episode. According to Karen, the show would have been much easier with an actor that was still reaching for the stars and willing to work long, hard hours to make it. Shepard was already a star and wasn't willing to adjust. After the third season of the show, creator Glenn Gordon Caron left due to the chaotic production and the many disagreements he was having with Shepard. Season 4 and 5 of Moonlighting limped along with neither of the principal stars invested in the show. Bruce Willis wanted to make more movies, and Sybil Shepherd was ready for the series to end so she could focus on her twin babies. Even promotions to boost the show had problems getting off the ground. The season 4 finale, which was going to be a 3D episode sponsored by Coca-Cola, was scrapped due to a 1988 Writers Guild strike. Only 6 more episodes aired before the series was eventually canceled. In keeping with the show's tradition of breaking the fourth wall, the final episode had Maddie and David return to the Blue Moon Detective Agency to find the sets being dismantled. The characters frantically raced around the studio to get answers before admitting defeat. Maddie then tells David she couldn't imagine not seeing him tomorrow, and then a montage of previous Moonlighting clips is played before the show ends. After the show ended, Bruce Willis went on to become a box office superstar with roles in the Die Hard sequels, Pulp Fiction, Armageddon, The Sixth Sense, and the whole 9 yards. Sybil Shepherd's stardom faded a bit, but she still headlined another series entitled Sybil, had a short-lived talk show, and starred as Martha Stewart in TV movies. As for a Moonlighting reunion, we may have to wait a bit longer. Although Sybil Shepherd is open to it, Bruce Willis may need to fall out of favor with fans before he reaches into the past to reprise his role. Shepherd has said that as long as Karen was on board to write it, she was open to making a Moonlighting movie. During the Comedy Central roast of Bruce Willis in 2018, Shepherd admitted that the two actors hadn't had a conversation in 30 years, but they had had something more important: residuals. Stay tuned for more episodes, and thank you so much for watching.